Sumo! What Sumo?
Is Robbie doing it?
Well, the guy that edited moved to California.
Oh, wow.
So we're like, dude, come on, do something. Let's get it done.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Catch Up with Bryan Sumardi, and today I have a special guest. His name is Jimmy Naulty. He studies Guan Jee Do at the Academy of Combat
Technologies. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, I normally like to do my homework. I met Jimmy through a buddy of mine, John and Rob Kenny. They practice with him a lot. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little more.
So I'm Jimmy, and the form that I do is called Guan Jee Do. And basically Guan Jee Do is a very street effective style.
Okay.
And it's based on several arts that I
Gotcha.
studied over the years. I was about 16 years old when I started.
Wow.
And I won't tell you how old I am now, but let's just say 15 plus years.
Gotcha. I thought it was just a lady thing. Don't really reveal their age.
Not on camera, I'll tell you after.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
But it is Wing Chun, Filipino, Kali, Eskrima, Panantukan.
Okay.
I did some boxing.
Isn't Eskrima with the weapons?
With sticks?
Okay.
Yeah, stick dagger fighting. But they have a really good empty hand drill, which is very similar to Wing Chun. Everything's very close quarter.
Okay.
So that's why it fit so well together.
I understand.
I did some savate, which
Okay.
is French foot fighting.
Okay.
It's
I
like
knew it was
boxing.
European. I just didn't know.
Yeah, it's like boxing, but with your feet. So it's all kicks. And it has a little bit more finesse than like Taekwondo in the fact that it's not as elongated or flashy.
I think Taekwondo is flashy to me.
Yeah, it's a little flashy. Not saying anything against our Taekwondo friends. You guys do a great job. So I've studied different styles, and I actually contracted out with some military personnel,
Okay.
law enforcement.
The big three letters.
The big three, yeah. And they needed something that was very effective.
Okay.
So they didn't have a lot of time to sit in a horse stance or to practice a lot of kata.
Right.
So when I created Guan Jee Do, I wanted it to be very street effective, but something that was very quick, efficient, economy of motion. It's like get in, get out, hit first.
Okay.
And don't spend a lot of time, sparring with your opponent.
Right.
Because you don't want to go rounds.
Right.
Out on the street,
in and out,
weapons,
get out of there.
Get pulled. You're always going to encounter probably more than one person. So the last thing you want to do is get set in some kind of a fighting stance. Right.
Okay.
You need to be able to hit and kick wherever your hands or feet are.
Right.
The biggest thing is awareness, being aware of your surroundings.
Yes.
If it's not a good place, you probably don't want to be there. So that's the best technique, is to avoid.
Okay.
But yeah, these guys needed something very quick, very efficient. So what I did was I put it together, and the way that we spar is not like point sparring. Like I punch you, you punch me, you punch, I block. Right. It's a game of tag. What we do is we try to set up scenarios.
Okay.
Like we'll go to a dumpster, have somebody hide behind a dumpster. He's padded up.
Literally? Like go
literally.
To place? Okay.
Right. And as you're walking to either your car or your apartment, he comes out and he launches an attack. So you need to be able to defend yourself, and you need to be able to counter-strike his attacks.
Right.
So you're not really defending.
Yeah.
We call it more self-offense instead of self-defense.
Okay.
When you're defensive, you're still allowing the opponent to kind of dictate what he's going to do.
Right.
So you really want to get inside of the person's head and shut down everything that he does. If he throws a punch, you punch.
Right.
If he throws a kick, you kick. So
you want to stun him rather than you just stopping.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So we call it attacking his attack.
Okay. That makes sense.
But that's the way that we spar.
Okay.
We'll do 2 against 1, 3 against 1. We'll have somebody pull a weapon. I'll tell people, you know what? Wear everyday clothes. Don't do a uniform.
Right.
Wear dress shoes.
Yeah.
Come to class sometime in a suit and tie. Carry a briefcase. If you're attacked in that type of scenario, you need to know what to do. Dress shoes are a lot different than athletic shoes.
Right.
You move differently.
So just like sports, practice how you play.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I definitely relate to that very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, going back to it, can you break down you said seven arts in the Guan Jee Do?
There's a few more than 7.
Okay, so then it's just like a mix.
It's a mix.
So would you say you study more of like your own spin to it, or actually is what traditionally that's what they do for the Guan Jee Do?
The very first style that I learned was from my father. He was a in the 101st Airborne. He was a Vietnam veteran.
Okay.
So I got my first taste of military hand-to-hand combat.
I see.
And then from there, I did formally learn Wing Chun,
Okay.
which they call Chinese boxing.
Okay.
Because everything is very straightforward. It's almost like American boxing, except there's no angles. It's all straight, utilizing center line.
Right. I did took like maybe 2 classes, the intro classes.
Yeah.
I remember horse stance, and that's really how far I went.
Yeah. Well, horse stance is more for like building up power in the legs.
I see.
But they don't fight in a horse stance.
Right.
So from there, I did some Filipino stuff. I really got into boxing.
Okay.
I did some Thai boxing, Savat.
Did you travel to the respective countries for each?
No.
Okay.
I was fortunate enough, once I was in the martial art community, I made friends with people of those styles. So we would do a trade-off. I would teach them Wing Chun. They would show me what their form was.
Okay.
I even did some Sistema, which is Russian hand-to-hand combat. They used to train the special forces in Russia.
Okay.
There was a guy, I used to work at Bally Total Fitness years ago.
The one where the Pike and Rose used to be?
Yep,
Nice.
Mid-Pike Plaza.
Okay.
And his name was Alex.
Okay.
And he was, at that time, he was probably in his 40s.
Uh-huh.
And he used to do Sistema. So I would go in and I would learn Sistema from him, which is a very different art. It's very fluid.
Okay.
And it really teaches you to be observant of your body and to be very relaxed in combat. It's not a stiff, keep your hands up. It's very fluid and flowing, almost like a combative Tai Chi form. Yeah. So I did some of that. And then I just kind of took the common denominator of each system and formed what I call Guan Jee Do, which in Cantonese means way of the light.
Okay. So how would you translate that into actually how you do it? I mean, just like how fluid you are? Because like you could translate to, you said the speed of light or the way the light?
The way of the light.
The way of the light. Light can be used as like speed.
It can be
flash,
right?
That kind of type of thing. How would you define?
Or
that?
It could also be awareness.
Awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Light could also be the opposite of the dark.
Okay.
So if you're philosophically speaking, a lot of people are still fighting in a certain mindset.
Yes.
And what we want Guan Jee Do to do is to be an evolutionary art. So instead of me really teaching you how to fight, I prefer to give you tools.
Okay.
Instead of making you a carpenter, I give you a tool and I say, here's a piece of wood. You sculpt it, you design it, you create it.
Right.
And that's what I want Guan Jee Do to be. I don't want it to be a solidified style.
Yeah.
I want it to be something that you can say, hey, you know what? I like this element.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to perfect this part of it.
Right.
And then my whole theory is go and learn from other people.
Right. Okay.
Because once you do that, then you start to observe yourself and the way that you move, and you find and create what's going to be beneficial for you.
Wow.
Instead of mass producing martial artists.
Yeah.
My philosophy is, you know what? Man wasn't made for the martial arts. Martial arts were made for the man.
Right.
So you make it fit you. And that's what Guan Jee Do is all about. And that's why when I structured it, I wanted to keep it a free flowing style.
Okay.
Instead of saying, hey, you know what? This is it, man. Cut and dry. This is the only way you can do something. When there's so many different ways that you can do one particular technique.
Right.
Which is why I took the common denominator of each one.
Right.
And put it together.
Okay. Wow. I don't know, that really relates to me. Like it resonates with me because in terms of like fitness as a personal trainer.
Right.
Like there's not one clean cut way to lose weight. There's not one clean cut way to build muscle. And I'm taking dance classes. That's where I just came from.
Awesome.
And it's the Arthur Murray dance studio, but at the same time, they're very they have a curriculum. But then I have the same philosophy as you, where as of right now, when I just literally just asked and was like, hey, I want to learn from all the teachers.
Right.
And now I've spoken to at least four teachers there, and each one had their own style of teaching as well as dance. Even though it was all the same dance they were teaching me, everyone had their own style and like flair.
Right.
So everyone had like conflicting mindset if they were all put together in one classroom and saying, teach me what you know. But I think they were just formed to be that kind of teacher.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I'm trying to break the mold as a student. Like
right.
I understand you got to teach me this curriculum, but I want to know everyone's personal style. So that's pretty cool.
Well, everybody is so different.
Right.
And everybody has a different way of approaching a certain topic.
Yeah.
Whether it be a fight or how to throw a punch or how to throw a kick or how to do a certain dance move.
Yeah.
It's like everybody approaches it differently.
Right.
And there's an old Zen saying, everyone is my master from whom I can learn from.
Yes.
And when you get to a point of where you're a forever student,
right,
then you become a true martial artist, whether it's in dancing or being a mechanic or a surgeon
right,
or whatever. You have now embodied the true form of what the arts are.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I was just talking to Rob about this. I had a podcast with him on Tuesday, I believe. We just got into the I want to say the phrase. You are the sum of the 5 closest people around you.
Yeah.
And that's like what you said. Like you are, say it again, the student, no, master.
So yeah, everybody is my master from whom I can learn from.
Yes. Yep. So you pick and choose what fits your lifestyle or what you want to do, and then that's your thing. To put it in like super dumb way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? The other thing, I don't want to get real philosophical with you.
No, go ahead. I love this stuff.
The one thing that I always taught Robbie and Kenny and John and other students in the past is this. It's wise to learn from others, but it's a genius to learn from yourself.
Yes.
And when you stop and think about that, it really hits home with a lot of people because it's like, why are you trying to emulate somebody else when you yourself have the ability to teach you more than what somebody else can teach you? They can only guide you.
Right. That's some powerful words. Yeah, that I'm really trying to resonate with myself. Like I'm trying to learn from like business owners and try to build myself and the things that I want to do. At the same time, I'm still learning what I like to do. Yeah. So it's still a learning process to figure out what you like, but at the same time, you still got to learn from another, even though you have to do it your own way.
Absolutely. Believe me, I'm still learning.
It goes hand in hand.
Still learning. Yep.
And that's amazing.
I have students that are a lot younger than me. Yeah. And they come from a background in something that, you know, I've read about or I've looked into. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Show me how to do that. Right. Because if they can teach me something, then that keeps me grounded as that forever student. Right. And it makes me want to, again, as the old saying in Tai Chi goes, running water never grows stale. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, all right. Let's bring it back. Okay, back. Sure. You said you started martial arts at 16. 16 is like freshman high school. Did you grow up around here? I did. Yeah, probably. Yeah, sophomore, maybe 10th grade. 10th, about 10th grade. Yeah. Did you grow up around here? Like go around high school? What high school did you go to? Springbrook. Springbrook. Okay. Yep, for all the Springbrook people out there. All right, what was that? Blue Devils? Blue Devils. Yeah. Okay. 1990, 91 Maryland State champions. They were at the White House. For? Football. Okay. Yep. Okay, so you said 1990, 1991. You can figure out the age from there. I'm not the best at math, but we'll leave it at that. Gotcha. Okay. And then you said your father was airborne? 101st. 101st. Yep. What branch is that? Army. Army, okay. Yeah. Do you have a military background as well? I do not. You do not? Okay. No. How'd you get into like law enforcement then, in terms of like contracting to teach them martial arts? Or did you just make a name for yourself learning? No. I was very lucky. Okay. Again, when I was working at Bally's, there was a guy that they had a room that was a mirrored room, and it was circular. Okay. I remember that. Yeah, it had one window. Okay. And we would do our classes in there. Well, I noticed this guy was always like peeking through the window, and then he'd walk away. Yeah. So this went on for a couple weeks, maybe a month or two. Okay. And then finally, after the class, I was leaving one night, and he says to me, what's that you do? Yeah. So I explained it to him. So this was a class taught at Bally's? This was taught at Bally's. Okay. Yeah. Like as a Bally's class, or you kind of? It was my own kind of thing there. Yeah. Cool. So he gives me a card. Yeah. And he says, "My name's Robert Spelke." He said, "I'm the field officer for the DEA." Oh. So through him, I really got into that area that I wouldn't have been able to get into if I didn't have that connection. Gotcha. So from him, I met a lot of people. There were a lot of military guys at Bally's that would come into the class. Yeah. And they would refer a friend. Hey, my friend's being deployed. He could use this. So kind of got into it that way also.
Wow.
So it really started, everything for me pretty much started when I was at Bally's. I met a lot of good people that really got me in the direction that I went into.
At what age were you at this time when you like got into, you said the DEA?
Oh my God. I was probably 26, 27.
Okay, that's perfect. No, because like I find like my demographic for who watch my podcast is between 18 and 25, maybe like up to 30, maybe 40, 50.
Yeah.
But I think the people between 18 and 25 are still like trying to figure themselves out. And then their biggest issue is like either going to school, but then they hate it.
Right.
Because they're just trying to work for the money or trying to get their degree. But then once they get their degree, then it's so hard to find a job.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes to show that, like, if you just follow your passion or just follow, if you have a good, I want to say parenting. Parenting makes a big importance in that.
Absolutely.
Since your father was in the military, and then you kind of just follow, you learned from your father first?
He was the first person I learned from.
Okay. And then you went to Bally's, you start teaching what martial art?
So after I had learned from him, I met a guy that did Wing Chun.
Okay.
And he actually lived in our neighborhood.
Okay.
And I used to hang out with his grandson.
Gotcha.
And they had the wooden dummy in the backyard.
Yeah.
Well, the old man would be back there, and he would be working the dummy.
Right.
So his grandson's name was Billy. And I said, Billy, I said, what is he doing? He was like, I don't know. He said, some kind of kung fu. Okay. He said, I'm into computers. So that didn't really get me very far.
Right.
So,
but you had like the awareness to see like
I did.
New. That's interesting.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And then I was very persistent. I kept pushing. So his grandfather didn't speak any English. It was all Cantonese.
Oh, okay.
So I picked up a little bit of Cantonese training with the grandfather. Wow. Billy finally connected us.
Yeah.
So it was a trade-off. The grandfather would teach me fall, winter, and spring. And every summer when they would go back to Hong Kong, I would cut the grass, I would take in their mail, I would put the lights on at night, turn the lights off in the day, and that was the trade-off.
Okay.
So it was I was very fortunate.
Right.
Because I didn't know anything about Wing Chun.
Right.
You watch the 70s kung fu movies, and it was all very fluid and flowery.
That was like everything. Jackie Chan, Jet Li.
Right.
Biggest thing. Entertainment-wise.
But this was so, like, effective and so just, like, boom, straightforward.
Right.
And I really, it took me back to some of the military stuff that my father had taught me.
Okay.
And that's why I guess I connected with it so well, was because there was no wasted motion. There wasn't a lot of flowery big moves, and everything was just very subtle. But this old man had power and speed. And at that age, to have that kind of power and speed
just really
to a young kid, to me, was very impressive. And I wanted to know what that was and how I get that kind of power and speed.
Okay.
So I was very fortunate.
So your origin was more like you were just kind of amazed by length of time in terms of his age and power?
His power, his speed, and the way that he was working the dummy, it was just so effective and so efficient. And you knew that if he hit you, it hurt really bad.
Gotcha.
And he did hurt really bad. I was on the receiving end of his punches. And he had the power and he had the speed, but it was just so graceful and so subtle. It was those little movements that really, put the behind the punch.
Gotcha.
And that's what I wanted to learn, was the essence of that type of fighting.
Okay. So I would say the majority of people who I think get into martial arts was because they were bullied. And that was just never with you? Like, you never really experienced that? Or you were more amazed by the power?
Well, I grew up not too far from Langley Park.
Okay.
So
gang related.
Well, there weren't a lot of gangs then.
Okay.
There were just a lot of, violence. I guess kids that wanted to make a name for themselves for whatever reason.
Right.
So, there was a lot of stuff in the streets. I used to run the streets a lot, and I'd get connected with some of these guys, and, fights would happen.
Right.
And then as we all started getting older, the fights started to become more aggressive.
Reckless.
Yeah. And then there was more of, it wasn't just, you had a beef with somebody and you duked it out, and then
It's
you guys went
retaliation,
home.
like-
Right. They would bring their friends and their friends and friends. And,
Right.
at that point I was like, okay,
It literally became like war.
right. I
Yeah.
need something a little bit more than just being able to scrap.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And then, is there any time like anger management with you in terms of that or no?
Yeah. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I was quick tempered.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 I understand. Then look, I think I remember when I was in the 6th grade, I was pulled out, we always had like an elective class. I was pulled out of whatever my elective class, it was like some art class, and then I was put in another room with a bunch of other kids who I can tell were like me. And then I think it was literally anger management.
Yeah.
And then it was taught me like breathing. And I think that was my leeway into being more mindful.
Right.
And I kind of learned, I don't know, just to be a little bit more aware, because at that moment I knew I had a spotlight on me.
Right.
Saying that, okay, if I was pulled out of my class to put in here, that means someone noticed that I'm doing something bad.
Right.
Therefore, I had to change.
Right.
And then I grew up Wheaton, so same thing. Langley Park wasn't too far. I remember when I was around, it was Good Hill area, and I remember my parents would tell me that it would be a lot of drugs on the streets at that point, and then until I moved, maybe when I was like 5, off that neighborhood to get me away from that. I think I relate well to that in terms of there was always stuff going around.
Always.
I never wanted to make a name for myself, but I always wanted to be able to defend myself if anything happened. So that you having the tools things, that I understand that completely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's interesting because everything that I have now and everything that I am now is definitely because of the martial arts.
Right.
I've learned to think before reacting.
Okay.
I've learned to appreciate and enjoy nature.
Okay.
People.
Yeah.
And to realize that, not everything is the way that we interpret it to be.
Okay.
And that you have to, kind of think the situation through.
Yeah, yeah.
And it mellowed me a lot. And
Right.
of course, age,
Yeah.
does that too.
Definitely.
But I mean, the martial arts was definitely a catalyst for that. And it has made me a better person. And I think anybody who really delves into the martial arts says the same thing. It makes them a better person, and it changes them for a more positive outcome.
I completely agree. I personally find myself as a powerlifting coach or as a personal trainer in general, I really relate. Like, I happen to have psychologists and just teachers as like my main clientele pool because they relate with me and being able to teach the youth or teaching someone. I know in the Marine Corps, our previous NCO creed was to teach the young and influence the old. And that really made me want to start SumoLifts as my brand because I got the nickname Sumo from my last name Sumardi, and that all came from the military, and that's how I got into powerlifting. And it really just helped me become more mindful in that. And I think the biggest the biggest thing I want to explain or more like shed light on is being able to be able to differentiate your identity with your opinion. Because I feel like people have become so, I don't know, stuck on their opinion that it becomes their identity.
Right.
And whether it comes to like race or something like that, there are injustices, but then it becomes like what you said, almost becomes like tribalism. That, okay, this is that group. And I know in high school it kind of like strengthens it because then you find yourself with a group of friends, but then it becomes like a clique.
Right.
Then like, oh, that guy hangs out with these kids. Those are the jocks. Those are the cheerleaders, blah, blah, blah. And I think we should all just kind of like mellow out. And
Sure.
These are just a group of people that can hang out with these people, even though they have two different things.
Sure.
And one thing I think about with powerlifting or fitness I find interesting was the stereotype of like jocks or meatheads.
Mm-hmm.
But then I find that people who are into like lifting in general are like into comic books,
Mm-hmm.
into science, and I was like, not a lot of people know that.
No.
Yeah, and I think martial arts has been like the greatest bring together there.
Sure. Like a unity.
Yeah,
you know,
unity.
like
There
it
you go.
unifies.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, I've always gone into. I think I've got more into jujitsu.
Okay.
More like ground grappling. That because it's like the least amount of actual trauma.
Right.
To help me become more mindful.
Sure.
But your Guan Jee Do seems more of actual effective in terms of self-defense. Mine is like more meditation, but I think that you should get into that a little bit more. I guess you just have to go to one of your classes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have your classes every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
From 8:30 to 10.
8:30 to 10.
At Team Eckenroe, by Whitefield Mall, or the old Whitefield Mall.
Yeah, it's off of Nicholson.
Off the Nicholson.
Nicholson Lane. It's actually Nicholson Court.
Nicholson Court. Okay.
And there's a on the corner. There's a Lazy Boy.
Yeah.
It's right behind the Lazy Boy.
Okay. Gotcha.
Literally behind the Shoppers.
Gotcha. Can you go into like your processes of when someone comes to your class? Do you have like, all right, since you're new, do you like put them through the gauntlet? All right, you have to go through this guy to see what they know, or like you just teach them on the fly, whatever they learn.
I don't have any real structure
Okay.
in teaching, and the reason for that is because if somebody comes in, I want them to learn that night what to do if they go out and somebody attacks them.
Right.
So what I do is I try to show them, proper punching, proper footwork, proper movement.
Okay.
And what I try to do is, and Robbie and Kenny and them will tell you, I teach you how to fight first.
Okay.
Then I teach you the technique behind what you're doing and why you're doing it.
I like that.
Because that way and I hate to use the word teacher.
Right.
I like to use more the word guide because I like to guide people to really find what works best for them.
Right.
I never considered it a teacher-student relationship.
Okay.
But in guiding people, it's like the first night you come in, you should be able to leave not being sore from doing a horse stance,
right,
but knowing how to throw a proper punch.
Okay.
So that if, for some reason, somebody decides, hey, they're going to attack you walking to your car, your first reaction is going to be throw that punch.
Okay.
Right. So I teach you how to fight first.
Okay.
Then we clean up the technique.
Right.
Then I teach you the technique. Then I tell you why you're doing that specific technique.
Gotcha.
So that way no stone is left unturned. And it's not me saying, well, do it because this is how I do it.
Right.
I say, Bryan, I want you to do it because this is how it fits best for you.
Right.
Why are you doing this? Well, let me explain.
Yeah.
Here's why you're throwing this type of punch. Here's why you're dropping the shoulder and keeping the elbow in.
Gotcha.
Because this diverts the other person's punch. So it's along those lines.
Okay.
It's not as complicated as it sounds. It's actually very simple, and there are no levels. Like beginners come in with the advanced, and I have the advanced students help the beginners and say, hey, look, I'm going to throw a punch. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to parry, hit at the same time, sidestep. So everybody is learning at the same level.
Right. Or
because
it's same speed?
At the same speed, probably. Yeah. Because we don't have a belt system.
Okay.
This particular style doesn't utilize belts or sashes. We do certificates. So we take you through a certificate level based on your proficiency.
Okay.
And I'm not really big into teaching you how to do kata.
What's that?
Like the forms.
Okay.
Like for instance, Wing Chun, they have their specific form.
Okay.
To know that is good, but that's not my main focus.
Right.
What that basically
combat effective.
Right. What that basically is going to do, Silam Dao, is it's going to teach you how to properly do the mechanic.
Okay.
I want you to be able to properly fight.
Right.
Then know why you're doing this specific mechanic.
Okay. What do you find would be like the biggest obstacle in terms of learning for like someone new?
How to relax. Most
okay.
people don't know how to relax their body.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah,
I can relate to dancing, I can relate to powerlifting.
Yeah. Most people don't know how to actually move with their body. They know how to use like maybe one part of their body, but not how to use it as a whole unit.
And then under like an extreme stimulus, first reaction, tense.
Which is why we do those scenarios.
Okay. So then when it actually happens, like,
right.
I've been through this.
Right. It's like, hey, this is my playground.
Right.
You know, this is how we react in training. It's the same exact thing. The guy's coming at me the same way, or, you know, he's pulling a weapon, he's swinging a 2x4. We've done this in class. So you get past that flight or fright.
Yeah, okay. Fight or flight.
Fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no running.
Fight.
Right. It's just,
I'm ready.
Right. The instinct is right there. It's like, okay, I move in and attack is attack.
Okay. That makes sense, because I think also when it comes to decision making, a lot of people tend to be going on the easy route, which is majority of the time flight, to leave, run, and then normally I think would be the case is that you get chased and you're still trying to evade the attacker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a specific scenario that you find that's most effective in terms of trying to relax the body, or that you teach?
You know,
trying to show?
Not really. There's no real shortcut other than to actually get in and do it.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because most people, when they see something coming at their face, will either duck, flinch, or run. And the biggest obstacle is to get people to actually move into it, not away from it.
Okay.
And that's the biggest issue with a lot of people is they feel like they need to be defensive. That defensive is the best way to go, and it's actually offensive is the best way to go.
I understand that. It relates very well in business.
Yeah, absolutely. See, it's like a puzzle. It all fits together.
Yeah. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I really want to get more into like your Guan Jee Do, but I feel like the only way to get into it is like to actually do it.
Absolutely.
Okay. I guess let's get into you in terms of a teacher. Like, I find the main reason why people come to me as like a power lifter, as a coach, or just a trainer in general is because they either relate well to me. I find myself very anxious a lot in terms of just making life decisions sometimes. Or, I don't know, I guess I put a lot of pressure on myself sometimes. But then I do that for the same reason that you just explained. Right. So when something happens to me, when I have to make a quick decision, it's like, oh, okay. I put so much pressure on myself making a quick decision whether I need to fight or flight. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Right. Absolutely.
What do you do in your free time? Like, no.
So nowadays, I don't really have a lot of free time.
Okay.
We just had a son.
Oh, that's
a little boy. He's 5 months.
Oh, so, wow. Really? Okay.
Yeah, so he keeps my wife and I pretty busy.
Gotcha.
And most of my free time is trying to catch up on the sleep that we miss because he doesn't do a lot of that recently.
Gotcha. Yeah, my brother's son is 2 years old now. He told me when my nephew was an infant, they would take shifts over at night. Is that what you guys do too?
Well, we try to, but he's really attached to his mom right now. So I pick him up and he'll scream and he'll cry as soon as she comes in the room and gets him. I mean, he's calm. So
okay, it's I think that's another battle too, like finding your relaxation and trying to transfer that to your children.
Yeah,
I feel the same way. Like when it comes to me and like infants, I'm like, I don't want to touch you unless you can stand on your own. Like I feel like I would break you just because I'm like, I feel like I have to be very, very careful. And if I like someone gave me a baby just like mess with me, and they put me like in my arms, I just froze. Like I feel like I can't move. Please, take him back.
Yeah, I used to feel that way with other people's kids. Yeah, but now with my own, I've realized that these kids are a lot tougher than what we give them credit for. Really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, babies are actually pretty strong. Okay. They're pretty tough.
All right, so like prior to you having your son, like what would you do for your free time? Because I feel like with a mindset of being so mindful, you are always like in your head, and I think that's what I find in myself as well, that you don't really know how, like you can relax your body, but you don't know how to relax the mind. Do you ever find yourself in that position?
It's very difficult.
Okay.
Very, very difficult.
Because you're always like almost hyper aware of your surroundings.
Always. But you have to have that balance.
Right.
And you have to have that happy medium.
Okay.
And it takes a long time to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to learn to really calm a very ambitious mind.
Right, right.
And the best way to do that is go for a walk, or like work out.
Mm-hmm.
If that's calming for you, work out.
Right.
What was actually calming for me was working out and training. That actually helped to relax me.
In terms of martial arts or like lifting weights?
Both.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of my alone time, is when I'm working out with the weights, or I'm working out on the wooden dummy or the heavy bag or whatever. That's me time.
Yeah.
And that's when I feel like I can take everything that's been going on throughout the day or the week or whatever, and kind of ball it up and put it at the end of that barbell or the end of that heavy bag.
Okay.
Walking. I love to walk. I love nature.
Yeah.
I love to be out in nature. So that's also really relaxing.
So do you hike a lot too?
I like to walk a lot.
Okay.
I'm not big into hiking.
Okay.
But I mean, like walking the beach, or walking through the neighborhood, or jogging.
We live in Maryland. We don't have much of a beach.
Not much of a beach here. But if you can find one, that's a great way to just kind of unwind and relax, and just listen to the waves. Let the waves, as they move in and out.
Okay.
Allow your thoughts to do the same thing. Move in and out.
Right.
The waves don't try. Right? Mm-hmm. They just react the way they were made.
Mm-hmm.
Do the same thing with the thoughts in your mind. Just let them come and go. Don't analyze them. Don't think about them. Just observe them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I do that as well, but I find myself truly at peace when I can almost like see tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
So like when it comes to powerlifting, I literally only have to do one rep. So I focus everything I have on that one rep. Everything else going on around me goes silent.
Mm-hmm.
And I can really just focus on that one rep. And that's like, I think the hardest thing that I try to explain to people is like, I find myself most at peace in like controlled chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like, I feel like, is that bad? Do you think that's bad? In terms
that's
of
who you are.
Right. And then you would just say you were more, as long as, I don't know, really, anything. When you're just walking around, you're just observing and just letting it come through in and out.
It's you learn over time.
Yeah. Because everyone's different.
Everyone's different.
Okay.
Everyone is different. And the things that you most of the time worry about really in the end turn out to be nothing big.
Right.
We make them bigger than what they are.
Yeah.
And that's why I said just observe them. Don't become attached to them. Don't be attached to those feelings or thoughts.
Yes.
Look at them.
Yeah.
Be an outsider and observe the thoughts that come in and out of your mind. Don't force them. There's no room for force.
Right.
Just like in the martial arts.
Yes.
When the opponent moves, you move. If he steps forward, you step back. If he steps forward, you step forward. There's no room for effort, and it's the same thing with thinking.
It's so cool that I can really relate. It just sounds like dancing to me now.
See, you would be a very, very aggressive fighter.
Why?
Because you have that very quick thinking mindset, and you have that tunnel vision. So everything for you would be very aggressive. Where somebody like Robbie is very meditative.
Right.
He's a really philosophical guy.
Yeah.
So his martial art is more philosophical.
Okay.
I feel yours would be more aggressive.
Okay.
And that's just the individual person.
Okay. Or I guess you kind of explained. I was going to ask, like, what kind of tendencies did you see in me? And I guess in Robbie's more philosophical. So I guess with me, because my mind always, it sounds like it's running very quickly.
It's always moving.
So in terms of like aggression, you think I would be like drastic, like in terms of like a big overhand punch, or just really quick?
I think you would be very quick.
Okay.
I think you would be very efficient. Okay. I think you would be a very efficient fighter.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I think of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, my go-to moves is either the Kimura or the arm triangle. Because my position, or when I was in high school, I wrestled. So my biggest thing is be able to pass the guard. And then either if you're just trying to guard your face from strikes, I go into the arm triangle. If you try to sprawl out and try to scramble, I go for that arm and hit the Kimura. And then I just think of various situations where, all right, if you move, like exactly what I just said, if you scramble, I'm going to find a way to get you in the Kimura. Or if you stay guarded, I'm going to try to get you in that Kimura for my strength. And then if you just flail, I'm just going to strike you.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to find that plan A, B, C, and just ready to go.
Yeah.
But I haven't really practiced much. I did that throughout high school as like I guess I've always done this as my worst case scenario and how to evade. But I never got into the position of like getting jumped. I mean, I have been jumped before, but that was like I never planned for it. I guess that was my only situation. And I guess with the Guan Jee Do that you show, teach, and guide would be effective. I probably would have evaded that situation. Wow. Okay. Huh. What else can I get into? I feel like with you, you're very straightforward.
Well, I mean, that's the epitome of Guan Jee Do. Guan Jee Do is a very straightforward art. So I have to be, as a representative of that creation of myself, I have to be straightforward.
Okay.
And I have to be transparent and upfront and honest and, as best as I can be.
I see.
Because that's what Guan Jee Do is. It's an honest answer to, today's type of conflicts.
Right. Like one thing that I feel like I want to say my age bracket, like I said, demographic wise, 18-25, kind of like what you said earlier, like in terms of people in that age range want to do something, either want to be recognized for something. But I feel like in today's age, it's difficult for most people. I feel like we're very lucky, like you said, to be able to find our passion.
Right.
I guess for me, my theory onto it is parenting. If you have a good set of parents and then you allow yourself to explore the world, to see what interests you, really, that is what gets you to be more mindful.
Absolutely.
And just have an open mind. And I guess, for you is with your dad.
Yeah.
Military, fighting.
Yeah.
Your background in terms of where you were living. You kind of had to learn self-defense.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just answering the question that I wanted to ask. I had a question that really stumped Rob the other day. It was, can you name the 5 closest people that you like listen to in your ear throughout a week? Could you name them like off the top of your head, like right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first 3 would be my mother and my father and my wife.
Okay.
And then the other 2 people that I would have to say would be a very good friend of mine that I've known since first grade.
Okay.
And definitely John, which that was his name.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of John as Raimundo.
Raimundo.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? Myself.
Okay. That's a new one. I haven't heard that.
And the reason for that is because if we listen to that voice that's inside of us, that's inside of all of us, it's our own voice, but it's our conscience.
Yeah.
And the more we listen to that, the more it will guide us
to your truth.
To not only our truth, but to where we need to be and should be and who we are.
Okay.
So those would be my 5.
Wow. Okay. So in terms of, here's a situation then. Say your son is now 16, 18, and at that age, your mind is still developing.
Sure.
At that age, it's like you're curious. Drinking, drugs, stuff like that. In terms of teaching him philosophy and how to find himself, how would you guide him through that situation? If he were to come to you, it's like, hey, there's a party going on this weekend, and it's like, say he's like a star of like a football team, so he's like the popular kid. Can I go to this party? And I think you intuitively know that's probably going to be alcohol.
Of course.
Drinks.
I was 16. I know what goes on.
Right. So how would you parent that situation or guide him to that? Yeah.
So one is it starts very young.
Okay.
discipline.
Right.
You can't discipline and start it at 16.
Right.
It's got to start when it's young.
Okay.
And he would have to know that I'm his father first,
right,
and then his friend.
Okay.
Not his friend first.
So he would be smart enough to not let you know.
Well, he would let me know because I would want to have that line of communication open.
Okay.
And I would want him to come to me. And I would want him to sit down and say, Dad, here's what's going on. But because you raised me the right way, I know what I should and shouldn't do.
I see.
I want him to be able to make mistakes because that's the only way you're going to learn.
Right.
I made my own mistakes. And because of it, I'm grateful that I'm where I am now.
Right.
And I want him to do the same thing. But I also want him to know that he's not alone, that he has somebody he can talk to.
Yes.
He has somebody he can come to.
Okay.
Right. And he has that support system with both me and my wife.
Right.
You know, we want to be open to those conversations. But I don't want him to think that, my dad's my friend and then he's my father. No, I'm your dad first.
Right.
Then your friend.
Gotcha.
But I will always be your friend, but don't mistake the fact that I'm still your father.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Because I just find like I have a lot of friends my age who have children.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I guess I never asked this question to them, but I feel like it wouldn't be as straightforward as what you just said.
Yeah.
It would have like the same meaning, but then they wouldn't know how to actually execute that.
Right.
So I feel like that's very powerful what you just said. Wow. Is there anything that you're afraid of? That you clearly say like just a random fear, spiders, something like that, or you're like a really deep philosophical thing.
I guess everybody has fears,
right,
of something.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of heights.
Really?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not a fan of height. And also, I mean, like you said, on a deeper level, not being the person that I was raised to be. I fear that sometimes I don't live up to that.
Yes.
And that I fall short of that.
I understand that completely.
And sometimes I worry about, I fall short in being a good father. So those kinds of things kind of, they sit in the back of my mind. I don't let it consume me.
Right.
But they're there. They're present. And that's good.
Right.
Because being present means that I have an opportunity to, again, step outside of myself and look at the situation and think before I react and say, what would my father have done?
Right.
When I was that age.
I see.
Or when he was that age, how would he have handled the situation?
Right.
So yeah, he's definitely the first person that's that voice that you were asking about earlier.
Yeah.
And I try to live up to that. And like you said, good parenting. And, I try to live the way that I was raised so that I'm that example for my son.
I see. Okay.
So,
spiders here and there.
Spiders, no. Heights, yes. Yeah. Don't put me on a ladder, but I don't have a problem stepping on a spider.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Your dad is airborne.
Yeah, airborne. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Diving out of planes here and there.
Yeah, that's not for me.
Okay, so say if you really like nature, like you would be like hesitant to like look over the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, no, I don't do cliffs. No, not at all.
Okay. So in terms of scenery, you just like water. Water is like your calming feeling.
Yeah.
Environment.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you a good swimmer?
I don't know how to swim at all.
Really?
Mm-mm. Never learned how to swim.
Okay.
So I guess you could say that would be a fear. Like if I fell overboard, yeah. And if nobody was there to pull me out, I guess I'm toast.
Wow. So you're really mindful, and you never like really wanted to learn either, or it just
no,
never came across.
I just never. Yeah.
That's really ironic too, though.
Yeah.
Because you really like the sound of water, you like being around water, but you can't swim in it.
No, irony's a funny thing, isn't it?
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. I think that goes into me too. I'm thinking, I think I always want to be in charge or have control of my surroundings.
Right.
So I feel like in martial arts, people get it confused. The reason why people want to learn martial arts is to be able to control their surroundings. But then it's really just to be able to adapt to whatever situation is around. Do you ever feel like you need to be controlling?
I think that's definitely something I think we all struggle with.
Yeah.
is letting go of control with certain aspects of our lives.
Power, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just that's probably something we're never, as a human race, that's probably something that we'll never conquer. Because there's always something that we feel we need to control.
Right.
You know, and to completely surrender and give it up, it
makes you vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're a monk, like 24/7.
Yeah.
And you're in that spiritual mindset, for average everyday people like us, it's very, very difficult.
Right.
Not impossible, but difficult.
Yeah, so that makes you question in terms of what you were saying, in terms of like removing that flight theory or option.
Yeah.
If you're always in fight mode, like we were saying about me, like it would be very aggressive. It's hard for me to kind of like relax, chill, and like not control.
Let me just say what I meant by aggressive.
Okay.
Not a jerk. What I mean by aggressive is if you're faced with a situation, I think you would go all out without hesitation. I feel like you would move in and really
run to the face of danger,
attack, know? And like if you're protecting yourself or somebody else, I feel like that wouldn't even be a thought in your mind. You would just be like the first one in. You've got that aggression.
Okay.
As far as the fight.
I see.
Not to the point of where, you're going to go out to the local bar and start a problem with the guy at the end of the bar.
Right, right.
But, I mean, if the problem should arise, I think that you would probably find ways to diffuse the situation.
Right.
But you would always be ready.
Last moment. That last case scenario, I'm there.
Yeah, and I think that if you were to get into the fight, I think you would be very aggressive. So in other words, you would be the type of person that I would want behind me, watching my back. Okay. Because I feel like you would be that type of guy.
I see.
You would go all out for the right reason.
Okay, okay. So if you were to put yourself in that situation, would you say you're aggressive like me, or are you more like mindful, I guess? Or I don't even know what the other option would be.
I just want to go home. I'm done with bars and stuff like that.
I see. Well, I say like you're out having dinner with your family and something, or what if you just see like, I guess like the hostess getting harassed or something? Would you be the type just, hey, what's going on here? Are you okay? Like talking to the hostess and then trying to defuse the situation, or I don't know. I feel like that's a big question.
It is.
I don't know. It's difficult.
Well, to answer it honestly, I think at this point in my life, I would have to observe a little bit more.
Right.
I mean, unless she was being manhandled and beat.
Actually getting putting hands on.
Right. Then that's different. But if it's an argument, I mean, it could be a boyfriend, could be a husband.
Right.
I mean, I have my phone ready in case I need to call the police, which, they're probably the better ones to handle. In the situation, though, if somebody really needed help, I definitely would be there.
That's really wise.
Yeah, I would definitely be there.
But my reaction to that is I was either going to hit him or not. But that's just, I guess, because I'm young.
Yeah. Well, see, that was me when I was 25.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now that I'm older, it's like, let's think it through.
Right.
And let's use these as a last resort.
Yeah.
Let's not make this number one.
Right.
Because might not even need to be.
Right. Right. Okay. I think I could tell a story, too. I remember I was at Tommy Joe's with Robbie, John, and a couple other people. And I saw this guy. I knew they were getting into an argument. Just two guys arguing, like, maybe within my vicinity. And I already knew a fight was going to break out because I saw him get into an altercation with one of my friends. But how the way that I stopped it, I just got in front of him, was like, hey, I know you've seen me before. Chill out. Like, that's my boy. I don't know what he did to you, but I'll handle it.
Right.
And then it quickly diffused, but then he picked on someone else. He found another person, a prey, to talk to or to get in an argument. Right. But it wasn't, I know in that Bethesda area there was a lot of police anyway, so whatever happened got stopped quickly. But then this time, this story I was telling you about, or telling right now, it was right next to me, and then it escalated very quickly. And I didn't know either two, besides the guy that I knew was usually quick to fight, very belligerent. And I think I took a step forward, I guess without me knowing. Robbie was the quick first one to put his hand in front of me and was like, chill out. I see it in your face. Like he wanted to break it up. And I was like, I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm a superhero. But then I've been told a lot. Usually it was when I was in previous relationships, like, I'm not Superman. I don't have to help everybody.
Right.
And sometimes people have to learn through their mistakes.
Right.
Do you have any stories like that?
God. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any offhand.
You're just very that much at peace with yourself.
Well, no, it's age and forgetful.
Okay.
No, I remember there was one time we went to a friend of mine, the place before it was Union Jacks in Bethesda.
Before
Shark
Union
Club
Jacks.
or something. I think it was Shark Club or whatever. Yeah, this was like late 90s.
I couldn't drink yet.
Yeah, no.
I was even thinking about alcohol at that
Yeah, I
time.
told you I'm not trying to age myself, but slowly but surely I am.
Gotcha.
And we went there, and I saw it coming a mile away.
Okay.
I knew this guy at the bar. He kept giving everybody the evil eye.
Oh.
And he was kind of talking to himself, and he was getting aggressive with the bartender.
Okay.
And I knew there was going to be a problem.
Psychological problems there.
Yeah, I knew that something was about to take place. So the bouncers, something happened between him and the bouncers, and they tried to escort him out, and he ended up breaking through and coming back in onto the dance floor. So my buddy, who had no business whatsoever getting involved, jumped on this guy to help the bouncers.
Situation. Oh, okay.
So he tackles this guy.
Yeah.
And the bouncers come over. Well, they ended up escorting my friend out.
What?
Because he started it. He got aggressive first and made the first move.
Okay.
So I'm standing here watching this whole situation unfold.
Right.
Come to find out, the guy did have some mental issues.
Okay.
And he was a regular there. They let him in. They were being nice about escorting him out. He came back in. They escorted him back out. But my buddy took it a step too far.
I see.
And he ended up being the one outside talking to the police officers.
Oh.
So that's what I'm saying. In situations, you really have to look and see, pull yourself back a little bit and see the bigger picture.
Right.
Because what he did was just not necessary.
Right. I understand
it was a thing where it was like, this guy has some mental issues, and he really wasn't bothering anything. He was just being who he was.
Right.
And the bouncers were privy to him. Yeah. Right. So it was just, you can't, like I said very early in this conversation, not everything is the way we interpret it to be.
Right.
So you just got to be careful,
Okay.
Pick your battles.
I'm going to clip that. I'm definitely clip that out of this. There's a lot to clip out. This is interesting. Okay.
Can you actually write that on the bottom of the screen? Pick your battles.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
that could be your
there you go.
Catchphase.
That's right. Catchphrase.
Title of our
Guan Jee Do. Pick your battles.
Okay. Damn. You just got me just dumbfounded. Like, everything is so straight. Like, it's just refreshing to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just because I think now another big reason I really want to start this podcast is like to learn from different people. I feel like it would just be unusual to just come towards you and just like, hey, can we just sit and talk for some amount of time and just about anything?
Absolutely.
So this is a good outlet, and then it's good to let other people know and have this on media.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to promote? Talk about specifically yourself?
I mean, just, you know what? I wish everybody would do Guan Jee Do.
Okay.
And not because it's mine.
Right.
But everybody do it because it gives you a sense of who you are. And it gives everybody a sense of being aware of your own body. And your body is the most personal thing about you.
Right.
And the more aware you are of it, the more comfortable you are being in that body. And if for nothing else, at least learn Guan Jee Do to be comfortable with who you are, so that you can express that to people on the outside.
And I think too, it's another thing of it helps you just be grounded.
Absolutely.
If you're a hot shot in high school, it's hard to kind of humble back down. Like after no one cares about what you did in high school.
No.
You're in the real world now.
No.
So that's for like all the high school kids. Like the real world is a lot different than high school.
I was not the popular guy in high school. I just wanted to get out of high school. I just wanted to graduate and be done with it.
Oh, can I go into education? Did you go to college after
I did.
high school?
I did.
Where'd you go?
I went to Montgomery College.
Okay.
And I did kinesiology.
Okay.
And then I did online courses with Maryland University.
Okay, so you got your bachelor's in kinesiology?
Kinesiology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went the whole route, and you went.
No, I didn't get a bachelor's degree.
Oh, okay.
I didn't finish.
Oh.
But I did study kinesiology.
Okay.
And then from there, I got right into the personal training and got certified as a personal trainer.
Oh, okay. I can relate to that. I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
That's almost like the main reason how I got into the military. I went to Montgomery College as well. My second year, I believe. Tony Pompous. He was my instructor for weight training.
Yep. He was our general manager here.
Exactly.
Yep.
He was the one that told me, hey, I see you training the students here. You should be a personal trainer. I was like, oh, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
And then he was like,
old
check
Tony.
this out. Certification.
Yeah.
Apply. Turns out the manager wasn't. I think he thought I was too young. I think at the time I was only like 19.
Okay.
Yeah, 19 at the time.
Yeah.
So he didn't think I had the experience. Oh, I mean, I can't even lie. I didn't. I really didn't. I just knew what I knew from high school.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Right.
But I guess like luckily I just kind of stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
I still became a trainer. And then I guess the background story with the getting into the military, I was a shift manager at Noodles. That's how I got John the job there too.
Nice.
And I just realized at that time, like, I wanted to do more. And I think that's the reason. Like, I had a couple buddies who just recently they didn't deploy yet. I had one of my close buddies get deployed while I was in boot camp. His mom sent me a letter saying he got deployed while I was at boot camp. But they got in maybe 6 months prior that I did. I had one buddy in the Marines, one buddy in the Army, and I was like, Honestly, the biggest two things that got me into the Marine Corps was travel, because my job as an LAV crewman got me to San Diego, and the other one was like, I could use military training to get me experience to train other people. Like, because I think in my head I was like, okay, they didn't want me to be a trainer because I didn't have experience. But what do other trainers don't have that I can get?
Right.
If I go with the military, I have military experience. Bam.
There you go.
That's my leeway.
Yep. Always think outside of the box.
Yeah, and I just never thought about it like that until like just now.
Yeah. No, that's pretty clever.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess when I came back, I finished my associates in business, and I went through I didn't even finish my first semester at Maryland. I was going to try to get an economics degree. But then I got a job at the passport agency in D.C. and I was like, at that point in my life was just like, I just wanted a government job, kind of like chill. But then now I'm kind of exploring everything else that's out there. Did you ever have any other phases in terms of career-wise, or was it just personal training or all in?
No, absolutely. I always wanted to be an actor.
Actor?
Oh yeah,
really?
I always wanted to be an actor. Yeah, I always wanted to be an action actor.
So how come you never went into like theater?
Well, I mean, I wanted to be like on the big screen. You know, I wanted to be like.
You had to go to theater school to get there.
Yeah, you know, I just never. I don't know. I couldn't see me being in theater.
Okay, so you kind of want to do the Jackie Chan route?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, just, maybe start with choreography and then work my way, and maybe have somebody say, hey, instead of choreograph this fight scene, why don't you just go ahead and do the fight scene? So, yeah, that would be like a dream come true.
Oh, wow.
To do something like that.
At what age did you know that, or did you want to do that?
Ever since I was a kid.
Really?
I always wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did Jackie Chan, Jet Li, those movies really play a big role? Bruce Lee, especially?
Yeah.
Bruce Lee was the first one?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I didn't know. It wasn't when I was a kid, I wasn't really into the martial arts stuff.
Really?
I didn't really get into like Jackie Chan and all those guys until I started getting into the martial arts and then watching those movies. No, I always wanted, like you said earlier, man, I always wanted to be like Superman. I wanted to be an actor, and,
Like, yeah, back in the day.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Right.
Like, the big roles that you're famous. You're famous for movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have, I guess, I want to say sports wasn't that popular. Like, not as popular as it is today. Like, it's more like you're a celebrity now if you're LeBron James or whatnot.
Absolutely. And then when I got into the martial arts stuff, I was like, okay, well, Superman thing's not going to pan out. But,
I can't fly.
Yeah, maybe I can throw some punches on screen, but putting on a red cape and scaling the building's probably not going to work.
Gotcha. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think I've always had a lot of dreams too. And I think I'm almost like living them just throughout my life and not knowing it. I think one of the things, I think in the 5th grade, I remember I wanted to be a comedian, a stand-up comedian.
Awesome.
But then I just never thought about it. I think, my biggest thing was my next older brother, he was really into Seinfeld. So I think at that age, I didn't even know. I was probably 13 at that time. And I didn't know that, like, Jerry Seinfeld was a stand-up comedian. I just watched Seinfeld.
Right.
And, like, my brother would laugh, and I'd just kind of understand the jokes. And I think it was probably, no, it was when I got to middle school. It was Chris Rock. Damn, what was his special called? It was on Comedy Central. It was like his first one when Comedy Central started putting out hour-long specials. And I was like, that seems like a cool job.
Yeah.
Travel, make people laugh.
Absolutely.
And then just do your thing.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. I feel like I'm always going roundabout about things.
Yeah, it's cool, to have those kinds of dreams. And I mean, I still would like to do something like that.
Yeah.
I still would like to be in a movie or.
Yeah, you want to talk about that real quick?
Sure.
I know you guys have been filming for over a year. I want to say.
Yeah. So I have a project.
Did you create the script?
I did.
Okay, so you created, directed it, producing it too,
starring in it,
everything. Okay,
choreographing it. Yeah. So going back to like the old kung fu movies.
Right.
This project that I came up with was like, let's have a period piece where there's no guns, no cars, no explosions, so it cuts down on budget.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's just all like pure fighting. Everybody can showcase their particular fighting style in this movie.
So you had people from different
backgrounds.
Okay.
Right. So basically what it was I play a guy who's half Chinese, half British.
Okay.
And I'm raised by a full Chinese uncle.
Okay.
It's set back in Shanghai in like the 1920s.
Okay.
And basically it's sacred scrolls that has been in our lineage for thousands of years.
Okay.
The rival school steals the scrolls. But the head of the rival school is my age. We grew up together and we were both taught by my uncle. But when they found out that I was part British because of the Silk Roads, I did all the research into this. Yeah. The British people were not, welcomed very well in China.
Okay.
They broke away from our school. And because my uncle was my uncle and taught me all of his kung fu secrets.
So was it the other students' uncle? Did you guys share the same uncle?
No.
It was just a different family? Or
different... It was a different family.
Okay.
But he got jealous because he was very close to my uncle. And because my uncle was showing me all the secrets.
This reminds me of.
He got miffed and stole all the scrolls. But he was working with the British consulate and there was opium and funding. And it was just this whole big story of just pure kung fu fighting.
Gotcha.
So we have the scripts. We just didn't have a budget.
Gotcha.
So we did a trailer, and I don't even know, Robbie did the trailer. I'm not sure where the trailer is. I'd have to dig it up.
Okay.
But if we could do that, that would be like a dream come true.
Oh, so it sounds like a mix of like Dragon Ball Z, where like scrolls are spread out, you have to find it. Ip Man, where you
Well, it's one scroll.
Oh, one
It's
scroll.
a sacred scroll.
Okay.
That goes all the way back through the lineage of our school.
Okay.
And it was handed down to show that my uncle was like the last
creator, or
like the last
legacy.
Master generational kung fu practitioner.
What made you get into that? Actually, I remember now. We had, last time we met was back at Fridays, and you said you wanted to unleash your creativity side now.
Right.
So this is where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Ah, yeah. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome though, because it's like
yeah.
Kind of like what I was saying, like when I told you I wanted to be like a comedian, and I feel like this is my outlet now to express my thoughts.
Absolutely.
So now you try to get into your acting thing.
yeah. And I mean, we had to go. You know? I mean, we had locations. And we had actors.
Right.
We needed mostly an all Asian cast, which we had because it was set back in that time period.
Right.
And we did have a guy who was British, and he was actually the brother to one of my clients. And he said, "I'll be the British consul. I've got the accent." And he said, "So I could do it." So I was like, "Great." We didn't have the funding. And to do even like a 30-minute short was like $7,000 or $8,000 just to do a 30-minute, and we didn't have it.
Okay.
So if we could get funding, I mean, I'm all on board for this project.
I might start a GoFundMe.
There you go. GoFundMe.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
8,000.
Yeah.
Is it all through in like Maryland? Like, do we have to travel anywhere?
No, everything was in Maryland.
Everything's in Maryland.
We found like we were going to do is we were going to get
come true.
Yeah, absolutely, you guys, absolutely. We were going to do stock footage. We were going to drive through Frederick and just get the mountains of Frederick.
Yeah.
So that would look like part of Shanghai.
Right.
There's a pagoda that we found.
Pagoda, what is that?
It's like the Chinese buildings with the carved intricate details. It has like the pillars and the carved dragons.
Like the stuff like in Chinatown, DC?
Kind of like that, yeah. We found one of those in Silver Spring. We were going to get a permit to do like a scene there. I mean, we had locations.
Yeah.
We found this place in Gaithersburg. We were going to do the whole movie there. And it was a Hindu temple. And they were like, for a small donation, you guys can use it. If we had the budget, we would have been able to do it.
Okay.
So it's not out of my mind. It's on the back burner. It's something that I still am trying to push for.
Well, I'm going to try to make this happen.
Absolutely. It would be, because you know what? It would be a great vehicle for people to see Guan Jee Do.
Right.
For people to see that no dream needs to be squashed.
Right. And no matter how long it takes.
No. If you can dream it, you can do it.
Okay.
So I have a mission to prove that, you know, what you want in life, you can actually get if you put your mind to it.
So you're a believer that you can manifest your own destiny?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm a firm believer of that as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my movie speech.
Gotcha. Where are we at? I think this would be a good time to wrap up.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the best way to contact you, reach you? You have a website, or do you want just people to visit you at Team Eckenrow Wednesday nights? Yeah, just Team Ecken Road Wednesday evenings. We start at 8:30. We go to 10 o'clock. Team Ecken Road has a website, so you can go in there, call, inquire about me. I don't know the number offhand, but everybody is tech savvy today, so they can look it up. I'll find it. I'll put in the link in the description on YouTube. Perfect. Do you have any social media that you like promote on any of this? I have a Guan Jee Do Facebook page. Guan Jee Do Facebook. Yeah. Facebook.com/Guan Jee Do. Do you know? Sure, something like that. Yeah. All right, I'll find that. I'll link that. Yeah. You know what? Talk to Robbie. Robbie set it up. Okay. So he probably has the link. He could probably shoot you the link, and that way you don't have to investigate anything. So I gotta work. I gotta work for your promotion. Promotional stuff. We gotta work Robbie a little bit. Okay. Damn. Awesome. Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Until next time. Thank you.